Welcome back, everybody. Now, over the past 26 years, the Market Theatre Zwakala Festival has produced numerous plays which have gone on to perform in other festivals and other theatres. Now, the festival is the place where countless talented writers, directors and actors have been discovered and developed. Today is the last day of the festival, and to share more on it, we're joined by Momo Matsunyane, the festival director. Momo, a very good morning. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Good stuff. Good to have you on the show this morning. Take us through the different productions that will be showcased at the festival.
Okay, so we have Blacksmith, which is a group from Carltonville. We've got Stivovo the Puppeteer, which is from Tembisa. Otandweni, also from Tembisa. And lastly, we have The Stories We Missed, which is from Rockville. Okay. Yeah.
And I understand that the festival started last year, right?
Yes, we had, so last year's phase was called Kolapeng. So it was the Zwakala Kolapeng Festival, where out of the 15 groups, myself and Babsi Pomwale, who's also the festival coordinator, we were responsible for narrowing it down to 8 groups. And so after we had the 8 groups, we worked with them, prepared them for that leg, and then judges were present, and their job was to select the top 4, which is the groups that I've just mentioned. And so they'll be performing this coming Friday and Saturday, and then the winner out of those 4 will get a season at the Market Theatre.
Sure. Yeah. Wow. Wow. Yeah. And I would imagine it must have been quite an unenviable task selecting, the winners of this festival.
It's awful. It's
because
awful.
They're all so great.
Yes, and everybody deserves an opportunity to be in a space that will empower their work and grow. And the stories they're telling is they're super important, and valid. So how do you say that one art form, kind of at this point deserves a platform over the other one, right? But I mean, like all competitions, we have to narrow it down. But it all boiled down to performance readiness, script, directing and performance and all of that. So it was a hectic task, but I feel more for the judges because they're the ones who had to select from the 8 to the 4 and finally the winner.
But how has it been, though, working with such young, talented creatives, and especially now that you also went through the same path?
It's intense. It's a very humbling process because you are literally interacting with works from various communities and communities that are marginalized or subaltered. And so people are not exposed to mainstream theatre or don't have access to it or don't have the money to be creating theatre. And so when someone is making you watch their play and you're sitting outside Elangeni under the tree, you're very humbled by their process, but they're giving their all, right? People are creating work in the most undesirable spaces. There's no electricity, there's no it's very emotionally taxing as well, because you realize just how much inaccessible or how little money is being put into the arts, and so but it's also very inspirational as a theatre maker and as a creator that, my goodness, if people with literally are barely making ends meet are creating such incredible
world-class productions.
That is amazing, and of course they deserve programs like this, and that's why this can't end, because it's vital to communities.
So what are some of the themes that the new works will be focusing on or casting into the spotlight on?
Right, so one is mental health and the artist's role. And how COVID-19 actually really impacted the lives of artists. The other is the failure of our government to really do anything for the young black child, and how little progress we've made as a society. The other is about a father's search for his missing daughter, which also deals with human trafficking. And then Otandweni is about an incestuous love triangle, and kind of the abuse that can take place within the home setting. And how do we break that generational curse, or umkoka?
Yes. Yeah. What's quite interesting about these productions, they are a reflection of human interest stories. I mean, it's a reflection of our day-to-day lives. So was that intentional in terms of selecting stories or productions that reflect, the lives that we live?
Absolutely. I think the term community theatre essentially speaks about theatre that is created by people from a particular community and speaks to the socioeconomic and political issues that they're facing in that particular community. And I think they're a great reflection of young people today, the things that they're experiencing. And of course, it has to be relevant. And when you pick these things, you need to understand, could audiences come watch this? Can this live in a theatre, in a mainstream theatre for 3 weeks? So of course, part of the criteria is creating a story that will move people.
Take us through, the processes of preparing for this festival, some of the preparations that you guys had to endure.
So just yesterday, actually, we had a meeting with like transport service providers, for example, that are going to be bringing our groups from their particular communities to the theatres. We have a tech coming up this week, so each group from Monday to Thursday will be in the space teching their shows. And for some of these groups, this is new. You know, having to function in a space setting like that, where there's so many things and you can't just arrive kind of ill-prepared. We've been doing acting workshops, scripting workshops, directing, and, you know, just kind of allowing them to dream of their plays in an elevated space, in an elevated way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Please share more details about those who want to attend the festival.
All right, so you can find firstly the tickets on webtickets.co.za, or you can go to the Market Theatre pages on Instagram. You can also just come to the Market Theatre. Tickets are free. They're absolutely free. Yeah, so you can come to the Market Theatre at the Ramolao Magene Theatre on Friday the 10th, as well as Saturday the 11th. All 4 shows will be performing on both days.
Great stuff.
Yeah.
That's an absolute must-see. Great chatting to you, Momo. Thank you so much for joining us. And have you guys sorted out, you know, the barriers to entry that are experienced by some of the artists from disadvantaged backgrounds who've always been lamenting that they can't get into the stages?
I think the reason for this program is that it does that. It allows access into the mainstream space for people who are far or who have always kind of taken part in the fringe side of things. And so this is an entry point into the mainstream market. So I encourage also, when the call out comes out again later in the year, that people do apply.
Sure.
Yeah.
All right. Momo, great chatting to you. Thank you.
Thank you.
The Zwakala Festival continues to remain one of South Africa's most dynamic theatre festivals, aimed specifically at community-based theatre makers. And we just spoke to the festival director, Momo Matsunyane.